try that again. We'll call to order the Monday, March 10th meeting of the Conestoga Valley Board of School Directors. I want to welcome everyone that's here, as well as those that are joining us online. This is our first meeting of the month. It is the one at which we receive most of our informational presentations, as well as discuss and deliberate future decisions. There may also be some action voting items required on timely issues or to meet time-restrained guidelines. All agendas and related public documents are posted on the district website. Will you please join me for the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Martin, may we have attendance, please?
We have 8 directors present tonight. Mr. Gensel is absent. We have a quorum in place.
Are there any changes, additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? If not, I will take a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We have an agenda. Dr. Hartman, your comments, please, for this evening.
Good evening. As I was thinking about what I wanted to share as far as district updates tonight, I realized a lot of what I was going to share about we're already going to provide updates for when we give our presentation of the mid-year comprehensive plan. So instead of any new updates beyond what we're going to present here in a few minutes, just wanted to thank the board for allowing me to attend the AASA National Conference on Education at the end of last week. It was a great conference, and just as important as getting new ideas and hearing about some innovative practices, sometimes it's really good just to get validation for what we're already doing. So I found a lot of the sessions I went to really validated a lot of the programs, a lot of the initiatives we have going on here at CV. Still took away some new ideas that I'm going to surprise my team with here in a not too distant future, but it also just affirmed that we're doing a lot of great things right now at CV. So it was a great conference and a great time, and I appreciate the board's support in allowing me to attend. So thank you.
With that said, we're going to start with that presentation on the mid-year comprehensive plan. We've been reviewing these comprehensive plans for several years, and I do have a comment to make before you all get started. In the past, between flowcharts, priorities, instructional models, big ideas, Pennsylvania future-ready requirements, and action plans, quite frankly, every time you updated it, I got lost in the weeds. This time, I could follow it perfectly. A lot of the comprehensive plan is aimed at what the staff has to do. And it's a little beyond us, but we ended up getting bogged down in it. This was direct and simple, and I could actually compare this report with the first one you sent us. And I want to thank you for making it so much clearer this time. And I'm sure it was easier for you, too. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'll get us started, and thanks for stealing my thunder a little bit, because our goal is to try to simplify this and make it as clear as possible.
Well, you met your goal. I noticed the difference as soon as I opened the document.
So that was the plan. But in all seriousness, this team, we do. Sometimes when you make strategic plans and comprehensive plans, it's easy to kind of put them on a shelf and they collect dust and you forget about them. But we really do use this as a driver for what we're doing in the district. And we spend a lot of time talking about how we want to present this information. Our cabinet, it's a big topic in our weekly cabinet meetings because our goal is to clearly present what we're doing and show that we're making progress towards those rigorous goals that we set. So, we all have a part tonight. We have a small army here to present, but I'm gonna turn things over to Dr. Kozer to get us started, and we all have a portion of the presentation to share with you tonight.
Absolutely. So step one is just to
bring back the goals. We have 3 big focus areas in the comprehensive plan for this 3-year cycle. The first goal focuses on learner personalization and growth. And so Mrs. Strasburg is going to speak to the MTSS framework and the work that she's been doing as the Director of Academic Support. So we'll give you an update on that goal. Our second goal then is around learner well-being, achievement, and belonging. And this is really the PBIS, the MTSS behavior side that Sarah's going to talk about, and then I'll share some of the curriculum and the MTSS academic side of things. And then our third big goal, learner innovations and partnerships, focuses on the community outreach, the profile of a CV learner, the work-based learning, and so Dr. Mann and Mrs. Upton are going to handle that part of the presentation today. So each of us has a different section, a different role to play on the comprehensive plan team, and that is really how we have been able to move so many of these action steps forward, because we do have a full team who's been doing this work day in and day out. So we'll start with goal 1.
Good evening. So we had 15 action steps for this first, or this time in the middle of the year, and we successfully completed 14 out of 15. The one that we did not complete was we were planning to do some work with our Tier 3 work with our small group and our protocols and our data rules, but we made the decision that we needed more work done in Tier 1 before we moved to Tier 3, and so we put that off till next year. And so as you probably recall when I spoke last time, we talked about how it's so important to have a really solid foundation, and it's easy to get trapped in the idea of doing that Tier 3 work because it seems like you can quickly make some changes, but we recognize that we need to give the time and the energy to Tier 1. So that's why you see 14 out of 15. Some highlights that we completed this trimester is that we did complete the MTSS needs assessment. The MTSS DLT, that's the District Leadership Team for Academics, has met 3 times. And we also successfully did a middle of the year elementary data protocol where we looked at all the elementary district data across math and ELA, and we're able to really look at the health of our system, which is really what informed our pulling back a little bit from Tier 3 and focusing a little bit more on Tier 1. Our data is growing in a really, really positive direction, seeing those changes and impacts that we wanted over the last couple of years, and also seeing the impact of pre-K. And so I'm really, really excited about that, my other hat that I wear. And we established some successful data rules for classes in the transition from 8th grade to 9th grade, really streamlined that process for course recommendations with data rules. Our next step will be the MTSS Summer PD plan, making sure that as we move forward, our staff are getting the training that they need based on their roles. The CV MTSS handbook introduction, we're in the process of drafting that and getting that through the DLT this spring. That's a big focus. We will be making a decision in the upcoming months on the MTSS platform, which was our data platform where we're housing all of our data that's going to help us make these data-driven decisions. We are doing a K-12 assessment plan, lining up all of our assessments pre-K through 12th grade to make sure that not only do the assessments match, that we're not over-assessing students, that we're using that data in a way that makes sense, that it's not just data for data's sake, and that we're also building in a meeting calendar for the analysis of that data. So along with a calendar for when the assessments occur, there'll also be a meeting calendar kind of matching when those assessments happen for that analysis. And as far as the needs assessment priorities, we have 5 big pieces that came out of the needs assessment, looking at our core academic practices in Tier 1, K through 12, and lining those up. MTSS Tier 1 and 3, like I said, Tier 3 is moving to next year, focusing on building level MTSS teams and the comprehensive K-12 assessment system and that digital platform that I spoke about.
And Michelle, I got a little trigger happy there, and I advanced the slide before you.
That's okay. I thought I was talking too long.
That's okay. I didn't know if you wanted to mention anything about.
You were like, let's go, Michelle.
I didn't know if you wanted to mention anything on K-5 progress report. I
Yes,
think
and that's, thank you. We are working on continuing the work from last year where we met to look at the K-5 progress report this spring. Kind of shifting, notice it says progress report, not a report card. Our goal is to create something for parents, that's our audience. And so as we work through that process with all of our different committees, the reading specialists, math specialists, teacher committees, you'll see a draft coming your way by early summer to get feedback through those feedback loops. So we're really, really excited about that. Little hint of what's to come, it's standards-based, and it's really designed to be, as Idette said in the beginning, simple for parents. So we're excited about that.
Hello. So as you're all familiar with, I am a leader of the PBIS that we do here in the district. So that is one of our goals. It's goal 2, positive behavior intervention and supports. And of the action steps that we've done to date, we have completed 5 of 5. The big accomplishments that we worked through PBIS is, I call it agenda development. We meet every month as a district leadership team, and within that agenda, there's usually typically on average 10 action steps in each of those agendas. So it's a team that is constantly moving in action and steps. So if I list out all those action steps for you, we're probably at like a good 30 to 40 action steps in PBIS that we've worked through so far this year. So we always start our meetings with past business, what we still have on the table, what we've completed, and then we talk about what we still have to complete. So that's how our agenda development works through. We have some really developed district coaching across the district. We have our elementary, middle school, and high school teams fully developed. We have taken on that tier 2 level of behavior, and we have worked through a check-in and check-out training and protocol across all the buildings. We have some pieces that we still need to do with that, but we have gotten the training and the protocols established. We've worked through our reporting expectations for behavior across the district. And of course, you're familiar that we did the annual board presentation for you. So our next steps that we're going to be focusing on for the rest of the school year is we're going to be working on transition planning, which is how are we going to transition from using SPEC, which is our consultant group, back to a complete management of PBIS through the district. So SPEC is going to be backing away mid-year next year, so we're going to put together a transition plan about how we're going to use their services over the next few months to get us completely ready and independent to be able to go ourselves. The SECO is check-in, check-out. That's what SECO stands for. And we're making full decisions about full implementation, how that will happen on the detailed itemized level in each of the buildings. We're going to be working on our summer planning, and we're also continuing to talk about our dashboard and our implementation guide for PBIS, how we develop those, and then how we can push that out across the district. And the other thing that we work through as a goal 2 is our social emotional learning. And as you're familiar, Character Strong is what we work with in the elementary and middle school levels. And in the high school, they have developed their own social emotional learning lessons. And so what we have done this year is we've also melded that together with PBIS, because PBIS has classroom lessons. So we wanted to make sure that we were combining the SEL pieces, the Character Strong, along with the PBIS lessons. So how we term that is we call it SEB, social emotional behavior. So it's social emotional learning and the behavior side together. So what we do is we have a work group that meets every month, and they've been working on developing a curriculum. So what we had them do is beginning in September, they would work on a September curriculum. then we meet in October, we work in October, November. So as of today, they are completely done with up through February, and most of them have March. So the intent was by the end of the school year, we would have a complete developed curriculum for social emotional behavior lessons across all the grade levels in the district. So everything's been on target, on track. The team's working really well together. And that's what we're going to be doing for the rest of the year, just continuing to finalize those curriculum pieces.
Okay, also with the goal 2 is our focus on our curriculum redesign. And so our group, this team right here, runs on 90-day action plans. So we started one in the beginning of the school year. We met 90 days in. We change, we adjust, new 90 days. And so this most recent indicator was from our past 90 days. And so in this area, we only met one of our 3 action steps, but it was actually a good thing. The 2 that we did not meet are the first 2 things under accomplishments. So the first one is our administrator walkthrough tool. And I remember saying to the group, hey, this is going to take us 2 hours. Let's get in a room. We'll knock this out, no problem. Well, what ended up happening was we got in the room and we realized, listen, we want to make sure all of our walkthrough pieces are aligned across the entire district. And so we pulled the PBIS tool. We pulled the social emotional learning tool. We pulled all of the different tools that we use for classroom fidelity together. And it actually became a much bigger project than what it started out being. But in the end, it's going to be better for our principals for next school year. And so that is in development. We've made a lot of progress through that, but it's been really good conversation with our team of building leaders so that we're not overwhelming our staff, so that we're as simple as possible, but still accomplishing our goals of checking on that tier 1 fidelity. So that's one of the pieces that wasn't completed in that 90-day cycle, but is in development and will be ready for the spring. And then the second action step that is still in development is that 5-year curriculum work plan. And again, I think Dr. Mann and I were a little too optimistic, thinking we were going to get the entire 5-year plan done in that 90-day cycle. And so we've been building through it. We've been working through all of the courses at the high school. We've been working through all of the different departments, what that process looks like, and we will have that information to bring to the board this spring as well. So our next steps are finalizing the walkthrough tool, the work plan, and then we have started really working on our summer curriculum work plans for those 4 core areas that we have in progress right now. And then our other goal in this area was around inclusive learning environments. And in this past 90-day cycle, all 3 of our identified action steps were completed. We did have a community partner advisory meeting. We began planning, I don't know if you remember us telling you about, we were going to be holding our Inclusive Learning Summit on March 14th. That has now become a snow makeup day, and so those plans have been shifted to the fall. But we have a team that started to build out that agenda and started to work with community partners for what that looks like in October. And then also starting to hold administrator trainings. We started working with our admin in January, and we have another retreat coming up in a couple of weeks where we'll be continuing this focus with our principals, assistant principals, and district level administrators.
And I have the start. Don't touch it. Goal number 3 is looking at learner innovations and partnerships. The first part of this is the profile of a CV learner. As many of you know, we've been working on the profile of a CV learner for a number of years now, and have done a lot of work, starting with Dr. Z, and then Mrs. Upton has guided a lot of that work to date, and we've to the point of having rubrics and things like that in place. As we begin that curriculum writing and going through that process, again, maybe a little over-eager, thinking that we'd be able to knock this out pretty quickly. Turns out it's going to take a little more time, and we got a little ahead of ourselves in this particular area. So we pumping the brakes a little bit on this, still using this to guide the curriculum writing and things of that nature. But as far as looking at the performance task and the deeper look into that, we're pausing that until we get the curriculum up more in place, and then we'll come back during the auditing process and embed the profile in a little more. So they gave me the 0 to 2. But no, so more to come in this area.
Can I ask a quick question? How much is that complicated when the state changes curriculum as it comes out with the new curriculum? Has that been a problem?
Say it again.
How much of a problem has it been if the state comes out with new curriculum when you're in the middle of this? Has that impacted you very much?
Yeah, when you think about the steel standards that just came out,
Yeah, I
Answer is that,
noticed
yes.
this year there've been about 3 new sets of curriculum, and I'm thinking, well, we're working on that.
yeah.
So you go back then and revisit it?
Oh, you have to. You have to. And some of it is tweaking a little bit, but in the case of the steel standards, it's a major shift. So that's been a heavy lift. So again, one of those things we didn't necessarily anticipate how hard it was going to be and how time-consuming it was going to be, but we want to make sure we do it right.
If I can interject here for this one, when I spoke earlier about the conference I went to and having some things validated that you're doing right when you go to that, this is one of those areas. A lot of the sessions I went to were talking about developing a profile of a learner or a portrait of a graduate type work, and really how the big theme being that schools need to shift more to looking at what workforce is looking for, where schools traditionally tend to be content focused, where workplaces today are more skill focused. And so this whole profile is about what are those skills that students need to go out there and how we're embedding it into our curriculum. So it doesn't matter if you're in algebra class or biology class or whatever, there's these cross-cutting skills that we're making sure that we're building with students. And that was talked about over and over and over again at the conference I was at as an innovative practice that schools should start doing. And I'm like, we've been doing that. We've been working on this for years. So the fact that it goes slowly, you want to do it right. But I think we're already ahead of the 8 ball a little bit. The fact that we have at least those skills identified, now we're working to see how we integrate them across our curriculum. So.
And then the next part of this, goal 3, the partnerships, internships, and work-based learning, we are at 4 out of 4 right now with those action steps. Critical accomplishments to date, and so this was last week, we actually have more now, 432 high school students have done some sort of work-based learning this year. And so that's getting them out into the businesses for industry tours, it's doing career shadowing, student workshops that we've brought into the school. So we've really been focusing on getting students to really interact with the workforce, with our business, with our industry and our community partnerships. 60 students are participating in internships this year. 3 years ago, we had 12. So we've really been increasing that as well. And that's a little bit more of a lift because the students are going out to the businesses 5 hours a week and working with those industries. And so that's one of the more intensive pieces of our work-based learning that we've really also been growing. The next steps for that are really, we want to get some more credentialing options in our classes so that as students go through all of our curriculum and our programming, they're earning actual industry recognized credentials along the way. And so that's our next real focus now that we have some of the rest of this, really solidly planned. We want to get those credentials into our curriculum so that our kids come out with diploma plus. That's our goal. And I just included a little bit, some of our community partners that I always want to recognize because they are the ones that are stepping up. And there are more, but these community partners have been doing a lot with our kids, with getting them into the businesses, getting some of our teachers into the businesses, doing some of those workshops. And so I just wanted to recognize some of those community partners for the work that they've been doing. And I included one of our internship spotlights. If you follow us on social media, you'll see that we frequently have these internship spotlights up there to show what the kids are doing. And that's one way that we are getting the word out to students, to families, so that they realize all the incredible options that we have in the district beyond just the traditional pathway.
And I'll finish things off for us. So our third goal under this area of innovation was to form an artificial intelligence task force this year, which I've been leading. And so far, we've established six action steps, 4 of which we've accomplished at this point in the school year. And the other 2 are sort of in progress, so I'm confident. And that's just about identifying some more professional development opportunities and needs. And we're at that point now where we're starting to plan for our summer PD, starting to develop our professional development calendar for next year. So we're not behind on that. We're just kind of right where we should be. So we really had kind of, even though we had 6 action steps, they kind of fell into 2 categories or buckets. The first one was that we wanted to take a draft policy, a school board policy, to the board on generative AI. And as you're aware, we've done that, and it's been tentatively adopted and waiting for second reading at this point. And then the third the second bucket was around the area of identifying what our professional development needs are around AI. So starting to talk to teachers about what they know, what they don't know, where they're comfortable, uncomfortable, and then not only identifying needs, but then looking into some opportunities. So seeking out some experts that we might have in-house, some of our teachers that are already very comfortable with AI and might want to help put some PD together, but also looking outside. So and we're a little bit ahead of where I thought we would be with that, because we had the opportunity a really great opportunity for some professional development, where we have Rachel Mann will be coming to our district on the evening of March 31st. She is she's from Pennsylvania, but she is a nationally renowned, well-known speaker, author, former teacher, still teaches, but written several books on just innovative practices, and really right for the last year or 2, her work's really been around artificial intelligence. So we put that out, even though it's an evening, a weeknight evening in March. As of today, we have 97 teachers registered to attend that. So we're pretty impressed with that. So like I said, that was something that fell into our lap, and I want to thank Mrs. Upton, was actually the one who earned this opportunity for us by a conference she went to recently, where she won, I guess, out of a drawing or I don't know, you can explain it, but anyway, you were lucky and won the opportunity for her to come to a free workshop to whatever district.
We'll say it was skill.
Yeah. I don't ask questions. She's coming, and we're super excited about it. So we're continuing to work. That we have that opportunity sort of fell into our lap, but we're also continuing to identify new opportunities as we go into summer and into the next school year. So looking at what our immediate, short-term, and long-term goals are as far as professional learning around the area of AI, and how we can embrace it to really enhance teaching and learning, not to fear it, and not to worry about it taking the place of how we teach students and how we learn, but harnessing it to enhance what we're doing in the classroom. So that concludes our presentation. We know it went a little long, but does anyone have any questions?
I did want to talk to the administrative cooperative.
You bet. Yep. So when we talk about this multi-tiered system of support, the MTSS framework, one of the things that's really important is making sure that you have fidelity to your tier 1 practices. So for academics and for behavior, we have these indicators that we look for in classrooms, that if these conditions are present, we feel confident that our team, our staff are implementing our goals and our programs the way that they're meant to be implemented, right? And so part of that is holding our administrative walkthroughs, where once a month, once a trimester, once a quarter, we're actually out in classrooms with our checklist of these specific look-fors that we're just double-check, verifying, hey, what are we seeing? Where are we seeing? Which of these practices do we see show up most often? which ones maybe need a little bit more support or professional learning around. And so we have them for our curriculum implementation, we have them for PBIS implementation, we have them for the social emotional learning, we have some tools for our English learners and what practices are we using there. At elementary, we have math look for. So what we're trying to do is put together that system and that schedule so that we can be really clear with our teachers what the purpose of it, of the walkthrough is, how they're going to get feedback, so that we're not doing 5 of these walkthroughs in a week, overwhelming the classroom teachers. We want to have a really strong plan that's intentional and well thought out.
One question I have is, with all the goals and objectives, is there anything that is heavily federally funded?
Now, I mean, now that ESSER is completed, I mean, our title funds are used for our reading specialists, our math specialists, our Title III funds, ESL, but that's not a focus of the plan, no.
No?
The
Okay.
majority the initiatives are coming from the general fund right now.
Okay.
That's a good question. Other questions?
I told
So
you it was clear this time.
It's a lot of information and a lot of hard work, but it's,
Thank you.
yeah, hopefully it's clear.
Any board comments on district activity? I would just add one thing. Some of us were at the IU legislative breakfast. I've been bored to a number of those, but this year they really, I think, did an outstanding job. Instead of just standing up there and reminding board members what we already know we do, we had 3 presentations on Ed certification, of which Dr. Hartman was a presenter, educational funding, and infrastructure funding. And what was especially good about these presentations, they didn't just identify the problems, they presented the legislators with solutions. And I think that makes a big difference. Later, the legislators, again, were not allowed just to give presentations. They were asked to specify their priorities for this year. I'm not going to take up time at this board meeting to go over that, but I will at one point. But it was very, very good. I thought the way the solutions were presented really made sense. We'll move on to action discussion items. The Buckskin Activity Alliance. Dr. Hartman, who's going to? What did I
Public
skip?
comment.
Oh, so I do. What would I do without
What?
you people?
Public comments? Was that, yep.
Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on the agenda item? Thank you. Then we will move on to the Buckskin Alliance presentation. Dr. Hartman, are you going to do that, or do we have someone else? Mrs. Myers is not here.
Yeah, so we just got word from Mrs. Myers that she got stuck at work this evening. She's a parent, but the president of our BAA, so she owns her own business, and sounds like she got tied up at work. So she's not here to be able to answer the questions about the grants that were being proposed. I don't know if you were at the last meeting.
I
Mike.
was.
So I don't know if I'm the best to answer the questions on it, but at the, if there's no questions, we can vote on them this evening, or if there's questions, we could ask Mrs. Myers to come back on the 17th and present those.
I don't know if I have questions. I had a couple concerns on some of these. Maybe you could clear that up for us. The first one comes directly from Gina Henry. So my question was, did their board approve this one?
Their board approved all of these.
Their
Yeah, that's the process.
They approved both.
Yeah.
Already, okay,
Yeah.
approved this.
Yeah, prior to coming to this board for approval, the BAA approves all of the grants.
The one for the platform is not signed, if I'm correct.
For ban, the one for ban, for Mr.
Yeah,
Magaro.
well, it's signed, but I guess I couldn't tell who signed it. And, oh, I'm sorry, it was the next one that has no signature at all. The jackets, there's no signature.
Are we making any other comments tonight, or?
Well, also, the total amount is different. The quote is 8230, and they have it as 8710. I just wanted to know which was the right number.
Which one are you looking at now? Is that the,
I'm looking at the track and field warm-up jackets. From H&L Team Sales, we have a quote for 8320. But they have them listed for 8710. Are there extra fees that don't show up?
I'm not sure if I can answer that, but we can certainly seek clarification on that for the next meeting. But yeah, if there's inconsistencies in the number, we should
Okay.
probably not move forward
I
with
just
that.
wondered why the numbers, were different.
Questioned, is it going to be used multiple years by different students? Is there going to be a cleaning cost? It's a lot of jackets.
Probably, yeah. But we,
How will that be covered?
yeah, I mean, we clean all of our uniforms. I'm not sure what the process is for that, but we do, for our uniforms or that we use over and over, they are cleaned on a regular basis, so.
I would assume that shows up elsewhere on the athletic budget. I don't know if that falls under uniforms or where. I don't remember our ever asking about cleaning costs.
Oh, I happened to think of it.
Yeah.
Because they said this would take care of it, there wouldn't be any other monetary
Yeah.
needs. Well,
Adele, are you aware of where that comes out of the athletic budget?
I can run a report real quick and see if it does come out of the athletic fund. I'm pretty sure it does.
Other questions? I know one of the reasons BAA wanted to get these on the agenda, there was a pretty quick turnaround time. But because I think there was some of these they were hoping to get for the spring season. However, it's truly at the pleasure of the board whether or not we want to table this till the next meeting or not.
Yeah, it's not board funded, it's BAA funded. And the documentation was presented better than what was presented here, so it was clearer. So not sure how that disconnect happened. But we can hold off on it.
I don't think 1 week will hurt.
No, it will not hurt, no.
It'll be on the consent agenda and we can approve it.
Yep,
And
that's
we can
fine.
get that answer
Yep.
back.
And we can answer any questions between now and
I
then.
don't remember Dina actually signing or sponsoring anything. It was the band presented their proposal.
Yeah.
And what they went through the process, et cetera. And then the track and field, they went through the jackets and talked about the business case and, very, very well done. So I'm not sure how Dina's application got here unless she felt like it didn't happen and she just made it work or.
Yeah,
I
possibly.
don't know.
Because it's not, it's not signed, we're not sure.
Yeah.
If that
so-
came from
That's
her
right.
or
Hey,
if that
it's attention to
came from the-
detail.
Or if that
So
came
we
from
can hold
the
off on a week.
track and field boosters.
Yep.
But we'll get that verified for
Yep,
next
that's fine.
week.
I do know the one that she proposed, I believe she's done this in the past too, and where they bring in she's a mental health expert who talks to student athletes and all student athletes are able to come. It falls outside of the normal athletic budget, but it was
Yeah.
one that all of the BAA the boosters were all in support of.
Just,
Dr. Hartman, if I recall correctly, Janet Hintz, who works in the athletic office, does a lot of the cleaning of uniforms.
What do you mean?
One site.
She does it?
Yes, I believe so, because we're not seeing an actual expense, but the more I thought about it,
And-
Janet does a lot of that.
I know that athletes have to bring back uniforms clean too. jerseys, shorts, things.
That doesn't sound like the best practice to have an employee doing the cleaning for them. It really should be somewhere in the budget, as much as I appreciate it. I guess could be considered a donation. Okay, so that'll be for next week. Our next issue is a change order for the solar panels at the middle school. I don't know who was going to present this. Oh, you, okay.
So if you recall, last summer, you had approved a bid for a solar panel project that Matt Masano had been working with. And they came back, the company came back, Paradise Energy Solutions came back to us. They applied for a rebate through PP&L and got about estimated to be about a $3,600 rebate. And what we can do is increase the kilowattage amount of these solar panels by about $3,600. So they just need us to approve a change order to be able to do that.
But it's really no cost to us, right?
Yeah, it's a wash,
Okay.
no additional cost.
Any questions? We do have to make an approval for this, so I will
Yes.
need a motion to approve that change order from somebody.
I move to approve the change order.
All those in favor say aye.
Right?
All those opposed? Okay, it's approved.
Thank you.
Facility usage schedule. This one's fun.
This is a lot of fun. You get the short version of it. So
Yeah.
we have not reviewed our facility usage fee structure for about 10 years, and it was due. And having talked to coaches, booster clubs, youth sports groups, representatives, I tried to take in all of their feedback regarding their concerns with our fee structures or what their wants are or needs. And Anthony did a lot of work on this too, as far as looking at taking our classifications of the various groups that use our facilities and comparing them to other districts in the county. And we have currently we have 6 different classifications for these groups. Most districts in the county have about 3 or 4. So we pared it down. We're proposing that, I just want to open up this conversation with you this evening to get your feedback, but we're proposing eliminating the small groups or like family reunions, individual groups, eliminating that classification. And then we had 3 different classifications for nonprofit organizations. So we just pared it down to, let's start with a class 1, which would be primarily our booster clubs, PTOs, youth sports groups. Pretty much a lot is very, very similar to what we have now. Group number 2 would be nonprofit organizations that are located in the CV community, 100% nonprofit CV. And also, if any of our booster clubs or class 1 organizations are having a fundraiser and using our facilities for that fundraiser, then we would charge some fees to them in classification 2. Then classification number 3 would be any of nonprofit organizations located outside of the CV community, such as American Cancer Society, who holds the Relay for Life here. And then the 4th category would be for-profits or all other types of organizations. So once we were able to identify and whittle down the different classifications, we wanted to look at the fee structure. And some of the feedback that we've received over time, especially recently, has been you're charging us these fees to use the grass fields, the artificial turf fields. It's getting harder on us with inflationary costs going up. We just want to be able to get some of the kiddos involved in sports and get a sense of it. So what we wanted to do too is everybody loves our turf fields and everybody wants to use our turf fields, but we have one that's about 10 years old and we're going to have to start looking at a replacement plan for that one very, very, very soon. And the other 2 turf fields, artificial turf fields, were installed not too long ago. So one possibility, and this is where I want your feedback too, is in order to help some of the booster clubs, PTOs, or the youth sports groups that all are offering direct assistance 100% to CV students, what if we were to eliminate the fees for them using the grass fields while maintaining fees for using the artificial turf fields? That could incentivize them or make it easier for them to use our grass fields. Looking at all of the other classifications then, 2, 3, and 4, there weren't a whole lot of fee adjustments. You had to kind of start getting into a pattern of how much a percentage increase you wanted from one class to the other. But where I did find too that our fees were rather low, turns out was with some of our auditoriums. And we have a brand new auditorium here at Smoketown. We have getting a brand new auditorium at Leola. And plus comparing those fees to other districts in the county, we were quite low. So I've adjusted that. So what does that look like then from a financial standpoint? So I took all of the facility usage applications and invoices for the entire 23-24 year and said, okay, this is what we billed and by which class, and then what does it look like if we take this proposed fee structure and overlay it? So tweaking it a lot last week, by doing that, our rental income would increase by roughly $3,600, assuming everything's the same going forward. But the class 1 would decrease by $6,600 because we're taking away the fees for the regular grass fields. So just wanted to know what your feedback was, is other type scenarios that you'd like us to look at? Any thoughts? Want to absorb it for a while?
Can I ask, in class 1, does that include clubs?
Youth sports clubs, yes.
Okay, I know you have booster clubs and.
Yeah,
I didn't know
youth
if it
sports
was
groups that,
just sports clubs? What about clubs in general?
it'd be any club that offers 100% direct assistance to CV students.
So if it's an in-school, in class 1, all in-school clubs would also be involved in that. Okay. You talk about feeder programs.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
I noticed change the wording. I think it should be approved or recognized CV sports teams.
Yes,
You should specify that.
yes. Yeah, the feeder programs are those programs, a good example is lacrosse. We do not have a middle school lacrosse team, but there is a middle school age lacrosse youth sports group. We consider that a feeder program. And under our current policy, a feeder program is not charged fees for use of fields. Well, the feedback I was getting from some of the people I've spoken with has been that, well, really, aren't some of the younger kiddos also basically part of a feeder program? So that would be the change that we'd be looking at, is not charging the students that are maybe, in 6th grade or 7th grade, not charging those groups, because they do break them down into different age categories.
My other concern is the difference. I know you're trying to encourage them to use the grass fields. Both grass and turf fields
Yes.
have optimum usage.
Yes.
And I think we should be allowed to deny anyone if their optimum usage is already at its max. Because
Yes.
then it doesn't matter what you charge, your maintenance fees on those fields goes up. I think that should be a sort of an escape clause to protect the value of our fields. Because a lot of them would gladly pay extra to use a turf field. But a turf field should only be used so many times a year.
Exactly.
And the same is true of grass fields. So I'm sure our maintenance department has those, and I think that should be there. The other thing I'd like to see is the actual written agreement. There are a lot of rules that
Yes.
go with this. I'd appreciate an updated copy of those rules.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we have the rental procedures and then the rules, so I can get those.
Yeah,
posted,
what
sent
they
to you.
can and can't do on the fields. I'd like to see that again. It's been a long time.
Yes, yes. We've also implemented a hard stop with the use of the grass field starting around October, November timeframe until spring sports are starting. The fields, we're putting money into the care of the fields through a local vendor. And the fields need that time to repair and to grow and not be used. So that's going to help tremendously too.
I have a couple things.
Sure.
I like the idea of not charging for the grass fields. However, I know certain things like soccer, the grass has to be a certain inch tall, and I know our fields don't meet that. Or there can't be clippings on the field, and there's clippings on the field. I do think we need to relook at what our feeder program definition is.
Okay.
Because like lacrosse with girls, yes, there's no middle school team for lacrosse, but they also bring up the second through eighth. They're all in the same field. They all run it together. They break it down by the grades, but the second grades, that's the feeder program for the middle school, which is a feeder program for the high school. So I personally see every sport in elementary as a feeder program for our high school. So I know that's a big thing when we need to define what our feeder programs are, but I think we should look at that, but I also think we should not charge for the grass fields. But to try and get them more use, however.
So my thoughts on this, please, like your feedback, is the feeder programs, really any youth sports group that we recognize. Like, okay, I know we don't have a swimming pool, but water polo could not be a feeder program for us. But as long as we have that sport at the high school level or middle school level, I was thinking any of those groups that are under that would be considered a feeder program. Is that what you were?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
No, I think we agree.
Yeah, I mean, it might get a little, I know there's clubs and recs, and that's a separate issue, but yes, I do see. There's kindergartners wanting to try field hockey, you know.
Right.
Do I understand what your concern was? Just because there isn't a middle school program doesn't mean they're not a feeder program.
Right, I think right now we're looking at middle school, that's the feeder, not the fourth graders, even though our hockey coach, field hockey coach, is a coach for the first, second, third grade. So, like, she's coaching the kids, but she's also the field hockey coach at the high school. So it is a feeder program.
No, I agree. That was my intent.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the hope too is that the feeder programs continue to exist at all levels until they get to the high school.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
And I know we're
fine.
starting younger and younger because our neighborhood competition schools start their kids younger and younger. So we got to get that competitive edge.
I think the other thing that factors into whether it's a feeder program or not is the exclusivity to CV students versus, if it's rec league and, yeah, we're happen to, you're asking to use our facilities, but you could be from any number of schools and participate.
Right. I know lacrosse does that sometimes with the little kids because it's like one or two kids from Calico because they don't have anything. And it's not a feeder program for us. So, we'll take their money to play on the field and we'll train them. But then come middle school and high school, they're out.
Do I understand what you're saying? They charge them more if they're not CV students?
No, you have to pay whatever for when you sign up for the, a second grader coming in to play lacrosse, you have to pay whatever it may be, $80 or whatever, for your jersey and the coaches and whatnot. And that young age, like we'll have people from Cocalico or Ephrata or, just a couple kids here and there because they don't have enough for a team.
Yeah, I get that. Is there a limit to how many non-CV students they'll accept?
I know with lacrosse,
I wouldn't want to see a feeder program turn out to be all another district.
Right. Ours is our kids get the slots first. If we need a little bit to break it down between 1 and 2 teams of girls in second grade, we have 2 coming from Cocalico, we'll let them in, then we split up to 2, but our kids get first slot.
But there are limits to how many students will accept from other districts?
I don't know. It's not going to be all, the majority from another district. It's usually like one or two kids. Because at that point, they can make their own program.
We're just accepting the fact that we'll have enough of our own kids to form the feeder
Yes.
program. Okay, well, if it works, it works.
Okay.
So my question would be, how did the feedback go when you met with the coaches and other people?
Very
involved?
good. I felt they could tell that we were working with them and that I heard them. The one thing that one of the gentlemen said that really resonated with me is he said, we're just trying to get the stick in the girls' hands so that they can, have that experience. And this is by not charging for the grass fields. Yes, it'd be nice if we could not charge for anything, but it doesn't work that way. But at least by giving the option of not charging for the use of the grass fields, we're reducing barriers because the sports are expensive enough for the parents, for the booster clubs. So by having those fees, they were having to increase the amount that they charge to the family. So we can reduce that barrier and give all the students an equal opportunity to participate. So I felt it went well. Yes, I know everybody would love artificial turf because that's like the perfect field. But at least, I'm thinking for the younger groups, especially if they get an opportunity to play on the grass fields, might not be perfect, but our maintenance guys are doing a really good job too on our fields. I have to give them a lot of credit for that too.
The only other thing I would suggest is that we review annually these maintenance costs.
Yes.
From what I understand with the tariffs that are going in place, a lot of that will impact fertilizers and such. So if we end up with a huge change in maintenance, we're going to have to adjust this.
Yeah. No, I understand. Did you have something else, Julie? No? Okay.
Adele, real quick, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I remembered also, we discussed the idea of kind of breaking down, having a flat fee versus looking at the amount of time that they might be using a field as
Yes.
well, instead of just, it doesn't matter if you're doing an all-day tournament or just a 1-hour game. In the past, it'd been,
Yes, and that I
Flat
did
fee.
incorporate that into, and thank you for
I
bringing
couldn't
that
remember
up.
if you said that or not.
Yeah, I did, on that big spreadsheet with all the numbers. We do try to show it as a per-hour charge for the fields, because we were having groups that were requesting to be prorated, which of course we would do, because if, we're not going to charge them an 8-hour fee if they're only going to be on the field for 2 hours. So this is the more fair approach right up front. So, is this something that can go to consent agenda and I post the rules and procedures, or do you want to?
I think we need a minute to talk it over. We can put it on a review and approve, but we don't have to approve it. So I wouldn't put it on the consent agenda.
Okay. Cool. I thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Johnson, you have three contracts to be reviewed.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, first on the agenda is the environmental services. As we're moving forward with the Fritz project, one of the things we need to do is get our environmental engineer involved, because there's asbestos floor tile, those type of things that'll need to be dealt with once we start the renovation project. This is the same company that does our annual inspections of our buildings related to that. They also have helped us out with Brownstown and also the Leola projects. So there's a good continuity there. Their total fee, estimated fee, is through design, construction, documents, actual construction, administration, is a total of $23,075. So very much in line with what they billed us in the past for Leola or Brownstown.
Did this have to be bid?
I'm sorry, what?
Did this have to be bid?
No, this is a professional service.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, they will put the package together that actually gets publicly bid then.
Oh, okay.
Yep. The next one is review of the proposal for the civil engineering for, again, for Fritz. This is from K&W. K&W has been our site engineer on all of these projects that we've been working on, again, continuity. This takes it from the design, the whole way through all the township approvals and all of that through construction documents and also supports us through construction as well. So their anticipated fee is $182,930. So again, looking back at the other projects, this is very much in line dollar-wise to the previous projects we worked with them on. So. They also have a good rapport with East Lampeter Township and going back and forth. We've done multiple projects so far with them, and so they have a good rapport there as well. And the last is a change order for Leola for the asbestos abatement. When they removed a few walls in the older section of the building, we found they were built over top of tile. So there was some remaining floor tile from many years ago, and the size of it and everything confirmed that it was asbestos. So we had the company that was contracted to do the work come in. They took care of all of it, the adhesive, got the air tests and samples and all that. So additional cost of $2,011. So this company's actually right up the street here on Horseshoe Road, EHC, right on the other side of the goat path. So, and all these are good for consent agenda, so I don't need any approval this evening.
questions?
Yeah, with the, they should take care of all the asbestos, correct?
That's it for Leola.
They're not gonna find
Yep.
anything else?
No,
Okay.
we're on the rebuild
All right, good.
side of things now. This was just an unforeseen. They tore a
Yep.
wall down and.
Just be nice to have it all gone.
Yep,
I mean,
it is.
like every time we open a door, it's something else.
Yeah, well, and that building had some of
Get that,
those.
it's got some stuff, it's got some history.
Yeah, especially with it going back to the 30s for a portion
But
of
now's the
it.
time to get rid of all that stuff,
It is,
when you're gutting it
And-
and all that kind of stuff.
and we have, so.
Are there any areas that you haven't explored, or
No,
is there?
no, the entire building has been opened up to, I don't think there's any nook or cranny we haven't gotten into,
Alright.
so. Great, thank you much.
Thank you. And we're coming down to the home stretch in the 100 policies. Dr. Hartman has provided us with a simplified version of what's being removed from the 100s. That made it a lot easier. These are all that, for various reasons, the administration still needs to work on, or we're waiting for some sort of legal guidance for them. Do you have any questions on any of these? I had only one concern, and that was under 118 independent study. I felt that the policy should specify that a student can recommend an independent study they're interested in. That's just a detail that can be fixed if everyone's okay with that.
We can make that revision prior to
Yes.
second reading, final adoption.
Yes, absolutely. Does anyone else have any questions on the 100s? We have, just so you know what's coming up, 5200 series. After that, there are about 20 on-deck policies that PSBA has been slowly feeding to us, and we have maybe 4 that we need to revisit. Plus, these that are being held. So the light is there at the end of the tunnel after we get through those 200s, and I think we should celebrate that when we get there. Any questions on those policies? Any concerns for a policy?
Thought you were going to give the list of the ones removed. I thought that's what you were saying, Dr.
Yeah,
Hartman
that
would
list
do.
that Dr. Hartman provided are the ones that have been withheld from the original list.
There is no list.
I don't believe that, I think that was just provided to you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But we will share that out with everybody.
Yes, I have a chart that lists all the policies that are being held. I thought we all had that. We definitely all should get that. We'll get it out to you.
That's my mistake. I thought I was only giving that to you. I'm sorry. I'll get it out to everyone.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm sure everyone else gets as lost in all of these policies as I do. Okay. We'll get that out right away. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. Any other concerns from the 100s? If not, are there any concerns about the March 17th agenda? Is there anyone that would like to address the board on any other issues? Yes. Please come forward. We need your name.
Wonderful.
Can we have your name, please?
Yeah, Matt Smith.
And you are a resident of CV?
Yes, ma'am.
And may I ask what your topic is?
The facility and usage discussion. So I'm the president, several hats, but on Summer Swim Board, president of Conestoga Valley Youth Field Hockey, also with the high school and the middle school booster club. So thankful, this is my first board meeting, so I didn't know when to speak, but I'm thankful that.
That's quite all right. You're welcome anytime to speak.
You got to present. I know I was sitting back there with my hand raised. I didn't know the exact process, but thankful that you got to present. Kind of went over one of my questions of the definition of a feeder program. I know I started field hockey program 3 years ago, so that was kind of a big thing of, what's considered a feeder program. Before it was just, or we didn't have a middle school team that will be considered, but now, I think it's a great thing that every youth sport, whether we have a middle school team or do not have a middle school team, it's still a feeder program because kind of like you mentioned, Diana, you're still feeding the programs, as they go up through. Another thing I want to address is just see that it's consistently applied. When I started field hockey, you're just hearing other programs are not getting charged for some, or some other programs are getting charged full price, and it was just inconsistently applied previously. So that's my kind of make sure that it's consistently applied throughout all, avenues. And then last, if it gets approved, when does it take effect? For example, like I know youth lacrosse, girls youth lacrosse and boys are starting the spring season now. They've already gotten their facility approved previously, and they got, the schedule of what they're kind of being asked from the previous one of how much are going to be charged. Does that take effect immediate, like if it's approved, immediate right now, moving forward, or is it?
I think we can answer that pretty quickly.
Yeah, it would take effect immediately.
Okay.
Okay.
But if you've already paid and,
They pay at
Agreed.
the end of the season.
oh, they pay at the end of the
At
season?
the end, yes. So
Okay.
with girls lacrosse, for example, if that's just starting up, we would say, we're not going to, we'll charge a fee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they do charge at the end. I just we're a fall sport for field hockey, so we just got the bill a couple weeks ago.
So your question, if you had the bill now, is it going to change at the end of the season? Or
Well,
would that?
they fill out the form and get it approved.
Yeah.
And them filling out the form, they're kind of looking at the fee schedule.
Yeah.
But now if they're practicing on grass, if it's approved, it's going to be no charge. So then, it's going to alleviate that cost them for.
It would be difficult to go back retroactive.
Oh, yeah,
That's finished
100%.
the season, but if it's just starting.
Yeah, no, I'm not complaining about field hockey. I'm fine, but I just want to make sure it's consistently applied
Sure.
across all sports, so.
Okay. That it?
Yeah, I just.
I want to
for your
thank
time.
you and thank all of your volunteers for their work with our kids.
Oh, yeah.
I would also note that when you review the information, you mentioned who to contact if there's a concern. Because I don't know if it mentions who approves them.
We have multiple people in the mix, but I can certainly be a contact person for anybody that has concerns.
Yeah, and I think that should be on the application so people know if they have a problem or a concern, who do they get in touch with? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board? Do any board members have announcements or initiatives? If not, I would just bring to the board's attention that Dr. Hartman has been providing all year long updates on his goals, and he sent us his latest one. If you have any concerns, I'm sure he'll be glad to address them with you. And if there are no other ones, I would take a motion to, oh, yes, question.
I'm just looking at the agenda for next week.
Oh, okay,
So it is first reading of the 200
yes,
and the first reading of 815,
yes.
but not a second reading of the 100s.
I thought that was on there. Let me-
Okay, approval of second.
Yeah, on the consent agenda. Since there was no more concern tonight that we anticipated, but you will still get a copy of what's been removed, so you can keep track for yourself. Okay?
And after the approval of the first reading of the 200s, we can still have questions.
Oh, absolutely. Okay.
But it makes it go a little faster if you have questions beforehand.
Yeah, that's always, sometimes it's just as easy if you call and get them answered beforehand, unless it's a serious concern or a change that you want to make,
I'm
then
with
that
you.
would have to be done at the meeting.
Absolutely.
And quite frankly, sometimes if you have any concerns, I just as well have it at the meeting because you don't know if other board members maybe missed that or didn't realize that that should be done. It's always helpful if board members share their concerns. Okay?
Trying to keep the ship moving forward.
Okay. Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session for a staffing issue. Am I right? Do we still have a staffing?
Legal.
Oh, it's legal. Okay. Second, all those in favor say aye. We are adjourned.